Picture this. It's December 1962. Britain is getting ready for Christmas. The winter feels completely ordinary, unremarkable. There are no warnings, no sense of what's coming. Just colder evenings, the sun setting a little earlier, and the usual expectation that, like every year, it will all pass. Then, quietly, at first, the weather begins to change. A huge mass of cold air from the Arctic and Siberia pushes across northern Europe. The easterly winds start to strengthen. Temperatures fall, and this time they don't recover. By the final days of December, Britain has unknowingly entered what would become the coldest winter of the 20th century. Snow begins to fall on the night of December 22nd. At first, it seems manageable, but this time is different. The snow doesn't melt. Day after day, the temperatures stay below freezing. Then, more snow follows. The ground hardens like iron, and the cold settles in, not as a sudden shock, but as a silent, unmoving presence that refuses to leave. Most people believe it's temporary. A few days of disruption, maybe a week at most. But winter tightens its grip. By early January 1963, much of Britain is already locked in ice. Throughout January, daytime temperatures in many areas struggle to rise above -5 degrees Celsius. Night after night, the mercury falls to -10, -15, and in some places even lower. Rivers and canals freeze solid. Parts of the River Thames, for the first time in decades, develop thick ice in its slower-moving sections. Lakes, reservoirs, and ponds become hard enough to walk on. Along the eastern coast, the sea itself begins to freeze near the shoreline, trapping fishing boats just yards from the land. These were sights that no one had seen in living memory. Britain's transport systems began to fail. Snow and ice blocked roads across the entire country. Cars were simply abandoned where they stood. The railways ground to a halt as the points froze solid and signals failed. Entire villages, especially in rural areas, became completely isolated for days, sometimes even for weeks. Supplies were slow to arrive, if they arrived at all. Britain, a country so accustomed to mild, damp winters, was completely unprepared for cold of this persistence. Inside homes, the cold was relentless. In the early 1960s, central heating was a luxury for the very few. Most houses relied on coal fires or small, inadequate electric heaters. As fuel supplies ran short and deliveries were disrupted, just keeping warm became a daily struggle. Pipes froze and then burst. Water stopped flowing from the taps. Ice formed on the inside of windows, creating beautiful but chilling patterns. People slept wearing their coats piled under layers of blankets. In the mornings, clothes left out overnight, were stiff with cold. The sheer effort required simply to get out of bed and face the day became part of the grueling routine. This prolonged freeze placed an immense strain on health services. Doctors and nurses became heroes, traveling on foot, by bicycle, or even on skis to reach those who were unable to leave their homes. The elderly and the very young were the most vulnerable. Mortality rates rose noticeably during these winter months. A grim reflection of the physical toll of weeks of unbroken, bitter cold. Agriculture suffered terribly. Livestock died in large numbers as fields remained frozen solid and their feed supplies dwindled. Entire harvests of winter crops were destroyed by the frost. The economic impact would be felt long after the snow finally melted. Farmers struggled to move their animals or even access their own land as huge snowdrifts blocked country lanes and fields remained like concrete under a blanket of ice. The waterways that once supported transport and trade fell completely silent. Canals were frozen for weeks on end. The coastal waters near the east of England developed vast sheets of ice along the shore. Boats sat motionless, locked in place as if in a photograph. For many, these scenes felt more like something from the 19th century, not modern Britain. Perhaps the most difficult aspect wasn't just the physical cold itself, but its sheer, mind-numbing duration. Week after week passed with almost no change. The skies remained a constant, oppressive gray. The winter sun was weak and offered no warmth, no hope. People grew tired, both physically and mentally. Social life faded away as any journey became a major undertaking. Staying indoors became the only sensible option. The cold seeped into people's daily routines, their thoughts, and their morale. Yet, as the nation's systems strained and its infrastructure faltered, something remarkable happened. Communities adapted. Neighbors shared what little fuel, food, and warmth they had. Strangers helped one another clear roads or push stranded vehicles free from the snow. In many places, a spirit of cooperation replaced the convenience of modern life. The winter was incredibly harsh, but it didn't break the social fabric. In some ways, it strengthened it. By late February 1963, the first signs of a thaw began to appear. Temperatures started to rise, but very slowly. The ice thawed in stages, revealing a landscape changed by the freeze. Roads reappeared from under the snow. Rail services cautiously resumed. But it wasn't until early March that Britain finally, truly emerged from the grip of the ice. Nearly 3 months of persistent, bone-chilling cold had finally come to an end. The winter of 1962 to 1963 became the benchmark, the standard against which all other British winters are measured. It reshaped how the country thinks about housing, insulation, heating, and its preparedness for extreme weather. No other winter of the 20th century matched its unique combination of severity, duration, and its nationwide impact. It wasn't a winter remembered for single, dramatic moments or catastrophic blizzards. It was remembered for endurance. A season that tested daily life to its absolute limit, exposed the vulnerabilities of a modern nation, and revealed the quiet resilience of its people. The coldest winter of the 20th century, and one that has never been forgotten.